Did it also occur to you that sometimes those skills which you hired, especially in services industry, the kind of turnover what we are facing in the services industry in India is about 23%.
Yeah.
Average is 23%.
Yeah.
So how will you address that? How will you retain those manpower?
See, what game goes on in any part of the world is like wherever you have a dearth of, resource, you always have to pay more.
You have to pay more to retain them.
Right, to retain them. But you also don't want to lose your shirt just to retain them.
Okay.
So you always have to have a parallel. It's like shadowing is always important, right? You have one resource, right?
And another resource shadowing the resource.
Try putting some budget to your other side of the training purpose. You have to always continuously train people who can take over, because as the world is entering India, right? There's always a price tag playing around, right? In US, the same thing. Those days when we were doing programming, we were like, okay, hey, do you know this? Do you know that? Do you know this? Oh, you can get this for this skill. So people used to jump for that because of the money you get for that skill.
And they were willing to learn.
They're willing to learn.
Okay.
So then there's another set of businesses started. Oh, you know what? Let's start training company.
That's a good idea.
Right? And they'll start getting one or two best resource in the industry and tell them, hey, I'll give you 10 resource. Your job is to train them, get them certified. Now once they are certified, even the corporation like yours or someone else, they'll pick them up because they're already
trained
resources.
And you don't have to spend money on them.
Exactly, right? So that's the way I would, focus in the service industry, right?
Right.
My take was I picked up the best product in the hedge fund, what is necessary. I hired people from different parts of the world and put 10 guys focused that these guys will be trained only in that product, and we deploy them. And once we deploy them, my brand went from 0 to 50 and everybody knew this guy, who's this guy in the market.
Right amount of skills, who's a trained skills.
And that's what you ought to bring into the table.
I think as a learning, what I can quickly summarize is, in case if you are in a services industry, you need to build your own core competency.
Always.
You can't be everywhere.
No.
You can't be everywhere. And once you build a core competency, the second thing what you do is identify the core resources requirement.
Right.
They may not be available in the market readily.
Yes.
So you need to pick up and choose those resources and be willing to train them.
That's where your skin in the game comes. You are ready to invest.
You're ready to invest in the training.
Right.
Right. And that's a part of an investment.
Whether you're a sweat equity, you yourself are a best resource that you want to train 10 people, but that time you cannot expect everybody will stay with you.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So it's always how many people can you retain. Right.
From the background of the services industry where I come from, okay, I do realize that some of the financial institutions in this country didn't want to retain mundane technical resources on the payrolls. Okay, they either outsource the work to a services company. I'm talking about IT.
I understand.
They want to outsource the process to a company which can handle them, and they also want to outsource non-critical functionality to a services industry guy.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now the challenge which we are facing, I mean, typically the industry what they faces is, if a guy, let's say, is a network engineer, right? He remains a network engineer for 2 years, 3 years, 4th year, and he loses his interest because he doesn't upgrade himself.
Right.
So in some of the forums where I represented earlier, I did mention about there are 5 emerging opportunity in India. A very big opportunity. In terms of sheer number of size, it's like amazing. For example, data scientists. Data scientists are in short supply in India. Okay, the guy joins a company. Let's say he joins for a 14 lakhs per annum or 15 lakhs per annum. Down there in 3 months, he's already trained by one company. Another company doubles his salary.
That's the point it's going on, right? Not just here.
Everywhere in the globe.
Yeah.
And he goes back, renegotiates with the management. The management agrees to retain him.
Right.
You said you don't open the shirt to retain someone. Similarly, cybersecurity is another area.
Right.
Now, all this technology has grown exponentially in the past 5 years. Right. many of the operators, they decided to offer this as a managed services.
Right.
In the managed services space, I mean, I'm asking this
Okay.
question
Makes
because
sense.
you come from
Right.
the services
Right.
industry.
Right.
Typically, what happens is that if you fail to keep the interest level of the resources
Right.
at play, and you will tend to lose your business.
Right.
Because like you said, you observe the market.
Right.
You chosen hedge funding as your core area.
Right.
And you understood what's the requirement.
Right.
You were willing to invest in training people. You got the resource, and from day one, you said your scaling went up from 0 to 50.
Yeah.
There's a lesson for startups to learn from this.
Right.
Right? Don't expect everything can be solved by your own. I mean, you really need to have people,
Yeah.
subject matter experts,
Yeah.
to be on the play along with you rubbing shoulders.
Right.
More than funding, you need to bring ideas and people, those who can help you to grow the business,
Right.
especially if you're in the services industry.
Right.
I think that's a kind of a summary. Am I right in concluding that in that way?
100%. Absolutely right. It's a mind mapping is more important.
It's very important.
Yeah. So when you start anything, mind map has to be there. Okay. What is you? What do you want to bring in? Who you want to bring in? Right. What resources required? Who can you? You have to always. You always have to look at your resource pool also. That are they willing to learn or do they have fundamental knowledge to get trained?
Observe it. Yeah.
Absorb. All these things matter. It's not just. It's a total puzzle you have to put together, right? One by one, one by one. And if you say that, okay, what is your ARR? What is MRR? These are all, what you can showcase. There are ways to showcase these numbers and everything. But for startups, they have to focus, put their heads down. It'll take time. No business. They say always, right? No Rome is not built in a day, right? So even our
No business can be built overnight.
right? So even if you say overnight doesn't mean that you're building your business in 3 years. It'll take 7 years. So in US, we call it a small business fails within 7 years. In those 7 years, a person will see a lot of cyclical ups and downs, bankruptcy, maybe partnership problems. A lot of things happen in those 7 years. Once you hit that 7th year mark, then you're never going to be going out of business.
Wow, that's a good learning. One more pertinent question and an observation. In the startup ecosystem, each one of them bring a certain level of skills.
Yeah.
Typically, they believe in their own skills, what they're capable of understanding.
Yeah.
There's a sense of fear. They don't want to collaborate with others.
That's bad,
Right? They don't want to collaborate. But in the kind of environment which you were narrating now, you did a tremendous amount of collaboration.
Only yep.
You had a mentor from who's a
100%.
PhD from Japan,
Yeah.
and you also institutionalized the complete learning curve within the system, and you actually hired people those are willing to learn. I think my sense of, you are an expert, you can talk about that. My sense to the startup ecosystem guys here, don't expect everything can be solved on your own.
No.
You should be willing to collaborate.
Absolutely.
So if I'm willing to collaborate,
Yeah.
what are the few steps I should be aware of?
See, my thing is, if you can't hire them full time, give them a part time, right? It's like that's why the gig economy started, right? During the COVID period, people were suffering with moonlighting. Why? Because everybody wants to make money because they have finished their jobs. And instead of 8 hours, they finish. In 4 hours, they're just sitting idle for 4 hours, and the manager is not looking at them, right? They say, okay, in the meantime, let me open my second laptop and start working for someone else. Because they had skills, and people are looking for those skills, and they're willing to pay. Now, I'm willing to pay as a startup, but I can't hire them a full time. So what do? I'm looking for a consultant, right? Who can just work for me for 3 hours. That's a nominal price. For 3 hours. If a person's salary is $100,000, right, for 2,000 hours, so I rather pay him for 200 hours. Right? Can he solve my problem in 200 hours? Absolutely. Right? Because rest of the work is done by other resources. But these junior resources, they need some kind of a tip. Right? Okay, do this. That's it. And that's also a big problem,
One of the founder of one of the leading IT companies in this country, I'm talking about, he was very vocal about moonlighting. Moonlighting practically is very, very illegal in India.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the reason why. When I'm hiring a resource, when he's in my payroll, not only I pay him the salary what he claims or deserves it, I do take care of several layers of statutory. We have something called a provident fund here. We have something called ESI.
Absolutely.
We have gratuity here. Then we have a maternity leave.
Right.
Then we have a casual leave. We have an annual leave.
Right.
So those are the statutory things as well as some benefits which we pass on to the employee.
Right.
So in such a situation, luring skills to moonlight for me poses a very strong ethical question.
No doubt, no doubt. But if you are transparent with the resource and say, hey, you know what? I know that you are getting my work done, and as long as it's not it's a conflict of interest, right? That for me, that's more a concern. That you're working for my product, which is in collaboration platform. You're also working with a similar startup who's also into collaboration. That's
Competitive.
That's competitive.
Okay, that's competitive.
Right.
Yeah.
I rather, okay, you're working for this, you can work for healthcare, provide your technical resource for the healthcare industry, not for my kind of an industry. If you're working for investment bank, go and do for insurance. I'm not, no problem, right? You're a consultant for me,
Correct.
right? But now the guy has to decide whether what he's doing is ethical or not.
Right.
So what for him, ethics versus money, right?
Which one wins, we don't know.
Yeah, but at the end, ethics wins. It's a painful, but it's ethics wins.
Excellent. So we are going to talk more about MELP now. Before that, Venk, thanks for joining my platform, Startups for Breakfast.
You're doing a wonderful job.
It's this platform is actually created primarily to educate the startups. By bringing subject matter experts like you, and we bring in technology guys. We bring in the guys those who are willing to fund the startups, and we also bring governance guys. For example, if a startup need to gain momentum in terms of fundraising, now ESG, which is expected to be a $50 trillion industry by the year 2030, right? ESG is becoming so we had expert who came and spoke about ESG as well. Okay. Wait for our next episode. Thank you so much, Venkat, for joining us. I want to know all about MELP. I know MELP can help.
MELP can help every industry, whether it's a small, medium-sized startup, anybody who has more than 3 members team.